Hey, we're out here in the Empire of Clutter working on a project. I have got this Craftsman half horse. It's got a 6-inch flat disc and an 1 by 42 belt. Nice quick adjust little sander, and it's dumpster picked. And I saw this wobbly switch right here, and I thought, oh, I bet that's the problem, and I could fix it. And then I took the bottom off and found this. It looks like this thing let all of the smoke out. Those windings are torched. So I poked around on the internet because I think this would be really good for Shay's trees. You want to show him one of your trees? So he's been making these little 3D trees here, and I thought this could be a nice little unit, but clearly we're not going to be able to fix what's there. When I checked online, I could not locate a model number for the motor. I'm sure I could probably get one. It'd be cheaper just to buy a used sander somewhere, and you know that's not what we're about, right? So I went digging in my other dumpster-driven sort of goodies, and I found this collection of awesomeness. I've got a pair of pulleys. This one is twice the size of that one. That's important later. And I've got this Dayton fan motor. And it is, depending on how it's wired, it's a 3rd horse. I know what you're thinking, but Ken, you said it's a half horse. No. Look right down there. Max developed. That's no half horse motor. No, that's startup torque. So a 3rd horse should do it, even though blower motors are not famous for high torque starts. It is a much slower motor. This one, where was it? 1725. This is supposed to be a 3400. And that's where these come in. That'll go on the motor, and this will go on the sander. I've already checked. This will pop right off. It's a 1/2-inch shaft. I'm going to pull this off, and I'm going to replace this with this 1/2-inch pulley here. This motor, I've already checked. You know which direction the belt sander needs to go, because the belt needs to go down. So if the motor is sitting like this behind it, or I guess in front of it, but obviously behind it so it's not in the way, it'll then be turning in the right direction. Because this pulley is really short, I can slip it all the way on, and there's still room behind it for that disc. Though I've got to figure out, this motor might be a little too chonkers for that bracket to fit in front of it. So I might not be able to get this nice adjustable sanding table, which would be a real bummer, but I haven't given up on it yet. Then we'll wire this into this switch, which is still kind of floppy, but I hope it works. And Bob's your uncle, we should have ourselves a working dumpster pick, very quiet little belt sander for the kid. What happened to the handle? Did you take the handle out? Oh, okay. I was saying, I sure thought it had that earlier. Alright, so first thing obviously I need to do, I need to get that off. I need to get the adjustable table part off, and I need to cut out a wooden platform to bolt both of these things to, and I'm going to use those handy cupboard doors. You want to guess where they came from? Did you think the dumpster? Yeah, that's where they came from. Yeah. And then while I do that, Bucko here is going to be making Brent Underwood at Sierra Magordo Mines. He's going to be making him a tree that we can send. So, a Shay original. Let's get on this. Don't mind the kid working there. Yeah, look at all that blue copper. The reason this is going to work is because I'm going to use this old motor literally as a pillow block. I actually thought about removing it but it is part of the sandwich of the actual case itself, the best I can tell. So I just snipped it off so that the stuff won't be in the way, and then we'll simply connect these wires here to the wires for this motor, and that motor will remain in there at least until these bearings fail. And yeah, they don't sound awesome, but they don't need to sound awesome. This will be fine.
What happened to that motor?
If I had to guess, I would say that it jammed somehow and nobody noticed, and it just cooked itself. Though I would have thought the thermal trip would have gone off. And then right in there, I think, is the thermal switch. So it might be that the wires melted together or something. It got really hot. I mean, it was hot enough that it actually melted the sticker off, and it was hot enough that it began to melt the remains of the plastic guard over here. So it got nice. See the drippings from the motor? She got hot. But for our purposes, this is nothing more than a spacer now. It's just we call it a pillow block. So normally a pillow block isn't driven from one end, it's normally driven from the middle. That'll be hard on the bearings, but again, we don't really care. And this actually should go together quite nicely. Your belt will go on here, and then when you ratchet that down, this upper wheel rocks forward, and you slip a new belt on, and you let it go, and it's done. So that's way easier than adjusting that belt sander, which takes a couple of wrenches and 3 monkeys. So this should be able to do it one-handed.
3 monkeys?
Nah, that's a joke, really. What I don't know for sure is whether you'll end up with the 6-inch sander. I think you will, though. I don't know that it'll have an adjustable table, but I think you'll still have the 6-inch sander. But this is the one I think you'll use the most. Here's the mock-up. Nothing's stuck down yet. Found this belt. Didn't come from a dumpster, but it did come from a random auction box. Smallest belt I seem to have. It's the wrong pitch. So that means it's sitting in this too deep, making this pulley effectively smaller, but it's sitting in that too deep, making that pulley effectively smaller as well. Hope that's not tightened yet. And then I've got this. Don't know how I feel. I know I don't feel. I don't like that. So I'd probably have to come up with some sort of guard before I had him work with that. And it doesn't have to have this. I just wanted to try to retain it if I could. Just need to get these marked. Look at this rock. I think the heat, something warped this entire case. It's had a hard life. Not a lot of use, though. You can tell from the pattern. The backside, it's actually not very smooth. So it has not had a belt rubbing on it for a long period of time. So there's not a whole lot of use in the machine. It looks oddly kinked right there. Who knows what happened when it went into the dumpster. We won't know on that until I get some belts for it, but I think this will work. Yeah, I don't know if you'll get that or not, because if you were sanding, it's going to be turning this direction and you got your finger into there, it's going to hurt. So if we do it, I'll have to come up with a guard. But there's plenty of room for a guard right there. But there is not plenty of room for that adjustable plate. Okay, so here's where we sit so far. It is in there. I grabbed the motor mount off a different random dumpster pick motor. This one was an 1/8 horse. I thought it was just a touch too small, which is why I went with the 3rd. And the pulleys are on and everything is mounted up, and she runs quiet as a mouse. Shakes a bit. Probably should steal the other motor mount off this and then throw it away, but for the moment I could run both of them with half a mount. So that's what we're doing. could put the other half on this end. That would have been a better choice. I got it back there. Shay's been cranking out some trees. That's a nice one. That's the blue pine that we moved the house to build around, and then it promptly died.
From the pine beetle.
From the pine beetle, yep.
Which I would like to roast and eat to get my revenge.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to do that, but hopefully you'll be able to sand that thing soon. A whole lot easier. Zip this off, but at the moment we're still just building. Now we need to look at mounting the sanding pad and trying to come up with a way for its tilting table. I think I might have one. All right. Look at that. Got a haircut. It's like they put a bowl across there. Anyways, I think we're here. I did manage to get that platform on. It is far from perfect, but then it never was going to be perfect. There it is. So what makes it far from perfect, of course, is that this is above the center line, which means it's lifting in part. I think it'll still be okay, but here it is all together. I swapped the clamp over. Watch yourself.
We're going to test it now, Dad?
Yeah, go get something to sand. I don't have the big belt on it, but we can at least try out this right here. None of this is a perfect setup. Probably the worst part here is the actual motor, because it is a fan motor and it is not bearings. It's oiled, oiled bushings. It's sleeves. But I put a few drops of oil in it, and it was free. And I got others. So if this goes bad, any old fan motor would bolt right back on. I think we definitely need to come up with some belts. So I'll hit the Amazonian interwebs tonight and get some of those coming, because I believe this will be way easier up there. And we'll get some sandy loopy strips coming in the mail and get this guy on his projects. Oh. The shop is clean. We are back and some days have gone by. We have some abrasives. So I got the belts, which should fit that, and then a set of sanding discs, which should fit here. But I did not receive the adhesive back hook and loop part that'll work with those. So all we're going to do now is try out these belts, which will allow us to see if the machine even tracks properly and give us an idea if it's going to work at all. Okay, let's put the blade guard on with a different, smoother belt and see if it works for your tree.
Alright.
Well, it does work. It's just not as well as I would like. The patent, of course, doesn't go all the way into the corners. I tried it up here and I launched it out of my hand. I think you could learn to do it up there, but it would definitely take some trial and error. This thing is way too large, but they've got that so that you can fit the sandpaper in without removing it. So if we're going to make this a tighter fit here, we're going to have to come up with a way to make it easily removable. Boy, does it vibrate.
My dad's going wickedly fast. If it's able to shave that off like butter.
That's the finest belt we bought with it. Okay, it doesn't appear that you're packing that belt. Let me try up there again with a tree.
Which tree would you want made, my good son?
I don't want one made, I just want one I can experiment on, so it's got to be one that's maybe not the best. Are there any out here? Buddy, I'm not sure. For anything bigger than those little tiny ones, this isn't going to work at all.
Let me try to cut it.
I could try with this guard off. With the guard off, it might work. Well, it's definitely a fun machine and worthwhile messing with, but it's not going to work for what I had envisioned. Well, it's far from perfect, but once I get this mocked up, if I get that mocked up, once we get that mocked up, then it'll definitely be good enough. It needs to be trimmed off right here to make it slightly smaller, and definitely screwed down to a table. I'm not entirely sure why it vibrates so much. Could easily have to do with the burned up motor that's still inside right here. I think for a dumpster picked machine built from garbage, we're probably done. We're probably not going to make it any fancier than that. I still have the hook and loop coming for this wheel so that I can just stick on hook and loop stuff. This could use some more bracing, but it's going to be a lot less wild for him to use this than it is for him to try to use this thing, which is just another dumpster pick machine that has been repowered. I think it's too cold. I think we're done. I think we're out of here. But that is repowering a Craftsman belt sander.